There, my name is Joe Meadows, and in this video, I'm going to run you through how to perform a risk assessment once you create a task. If you'd like to learn more about creating tasks, I'd encourage you to watch our tasks video. But I'm going to assume you already know how to do that, so we're just going to dive into the risk assessment side of things. So, for every task that's created, we have the ability to complete a risk assessment. What we've tried to do with this risk assessment process is not only make it easier and more straightforward than the ways that companies have traditionally kind of had a formal risk assessment process, so things like JHAs and JSAs, which we believe are not only too much work, but they're also not very effective. So again, we want to make it easier, but we also want to make something that's going to help you to identify risk more effectively. So the way our system works is you click on the risk assessment. It's going to give you a little warning to say, hey, this is what we're doing, and we're going to be able to get started. The first thing we're going to do is it's going to ask us what the activities are associated with our job. So the idea here being that we have for any job that we do, there's various activities associated with that job. So if we were changing a light bulb, the activities might be working on an A-frame ladder, handling light bulbs, and operating or doing maintenance on a low voltage electricity system. In this case, we're inspecting a tank. So some of the ones I might choose are entering a confined space, maybe using hand tools, inspecting tanks. So here I've looked for inspecting tanks. Nothing's come up. So I can actually add this activity so that I can log that I'm also going to be doing that. So now I've selected a handful of activities. For each job you do, you're going to, again, either make selections from this group or add new activity. And just as a side note, while I am here, we're working on ways to make this a little bit easier to navigate so that you don't have to go through a big list. We think that there's opportunities for improvement there. So keep your eyes peeled and hopefully something will be up for that soon. So once we select our activities, we press next. And what the process is going to do is it's going to look at the activities that you selected, and it's going to make recommendations about the hazards that you might experience when you do this job. These recommendations come from a database that your company manages. So basically the company's able to say, for these activities, these are the hazards that we're worried about. So if you see anything strange here, we'd encourage you to reach out to your management and they can make adjustments. So here we're going to tell you, here's some hazards associated with the activities you said you're going to do. And what we'd ask you to do is review this list and confirm what are the hazards that you agree are in this case. So back strain, okay, we're going to be getting into a tank, maybe we'll hurt our back. Inadequate lighting, certainly. Inadequate ventilation, certainly. Might be worried about some asphyxiation because we're entering a confined space. And so I want to select those. I'm not worried about dropped objects. I'm not worried about electrical shock or foreign matter in the eye. Well, maybe low likelihood, something I want to be concerned about. But these ones, our system actually gives you the freedom to not just accept the JSA model of every hazard is in play every single time, because that's simply not true. There's going to be times where we do tasks where we're professionals, we understand what's happening, and we're not going to act as if every possible hazard is in play. So we want to keep people engaged, keep them thinking, and just confirm the hazards that are in play based on your knowledge of the situation. Additionally, you might have concerns about other hazards that the system's not identifying. So we actually give you access to the whole hazards list. And if you're concerned about, maybe this tank is in the engine room and you're concerned about excessive noise, you can also indicate that hazard and make sure that you're doing a complete assessment of the situation. You can see that as we've done that, the system's automatically calculating a kind of 5x5 risk assessment. Our residual risk is not yet filled out, and that's because we haven't added our controls, so we don't know what our residual risk is. So we've identified our hazards. Let's go to the next step. Here, we're talking about controls. So again, what the system's going to do is based on that database that your company controls, it's going to indicate, are there any specific controls that are required? So when we say required, what that means is you can't proceed with this work unless these are in place. And then additional controls that are recommended. And so the difference there is that, if you say inadequate ventilation is a hazard, which we did, mechanically ventilating the space is something we must do. So doing that is going to have a big impact on this. And you can see that as we add those things, our residual risk is actually decreasing. So in this case, we have to add all of these. We could maybe say that additional lighting, we're going to do that. We could also say that the good housekeeping, mentorship, we're going to wear gas monitoring equipment, but we're not going to wear a face shield. And that's okay because it's only a recommended control. We're going to wear safety glasses, and we could add an SCBA if we wanted to, but I won't in this case. We go to our next section of controls. You can see that we can also have requirements around work permits. So do we have a confined space permit? And in this case, we're saying that that's a requirement. If we were also going to be doing hot work and maybe that wasn't identified on the permit, we could also add a hot work permit. That's an option that we have. And then same with isolations. So here, I'm selecting a planned isolation from our list. If you want to learn more about planned isolations, please watch our isolations video. Additionally, if we wanted to isolate fuel tank, you can see that we don't have an isolation for that. So I can create a new one for that and attach that to my risk assessment. So here we can see, we get a summary of that risk assessment as it is. The potential and residual risk values that we enter here, these are automatically calculated by that system that your company maintains. And I just want to be upfront here that these are a guidance, but they're not always going to be correct, kind of, again, based on how much information the company has added. So if you see that, in this case, we don't actually think that the residual risk here is high. We've put some great controls in place, and there's obviously some information missing from the system, so it's still showing us a high value. What we're able to do is edit this. So how likely an incident will take place while performing this task? We're going to say, now that we've put these controls in place, it's unlikely. And if an incident was to take place because of all the controls, we're going to say that it would only be slight on its impact. So now we come back, we've got an updated values, everything looks great, and we're done. Our summary has been updated with those new values, and now we can press accept, and we're good to go. Now we've come back to our task. We can see that our risk assessment is completed, and we have an updated residual risk value. So we're really happy with that. The work permit, which had our required confined space permit and hot work, which we added, has been added, as well as our isolation, and this is ready for us here. That's kind of it for the risk assessment process. Again, if we ever wanted to, or if we were ever performing another inspection of a fuel tank in the future or a similar job, we could always clone this. And when we clone it, it would clone our risk assessment as well as these documents to make this a little bit easier in the future. So that's the overview of the risk assessment process. This is our replacement for, JSAs or JHAs that nobody reads, and we want to create something that's a little bit more dynamic and gives you the ability to have something that's going to fit the job that you're doing in real life and not be some virtual version of that process. Hopefully you find this helpful and you can see how this would be valuable. If you have any questions, please let us know, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.